The New Zealand Defence Force is waiting on final approval from French authorities to fly into New Caledonia and bring stranded New Zealanders home. The territory has been hit by civil unrest, with at least 6 people dead. Hundreds of French troops have been deployed to secure the route to Noumairs airport and help get visitors out. About 250 New Zealanders are there. For more, we're joined by Anna Poles, a senior lecturer at the Centre for Defence and Security Studies at Massey University. Good morning, Anna.
Morena, good morning.
What are we witnessing here, and who are the main parties?
Well, what we are witnessing is a perfect storm of frustration amongst the kanaky population in New Caledonia, who comprise around 41% of the population, and deep frustrations over changes that were made, proposed changes that were in January of this year with respect to the electoral roll, which would effectively unfreeze the electoral roll, which had been in its current form since around 2007. And what it would mean is that the New Caledonia would see an approximately additional 25,000 French residents added to the roll, which would tip the balance in terms of the makeup of those pro-independence versus anti-independence within the government. And for the first time, New Caledonia kanaky has a pro-independence government in place. And then, of course, you have decades of frustration over poor outcomes for the kanaky population, massive economic and social inequality across the territory, poverty, poor education, limited access to good quality housing, as well as what was exacerbated as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic and the crisis in the nickel industry. So kind of a perfect storm in many respects.
So, Anna, given all that and its history, why is New Caledonia so important to the French?
Well, New Caledonia and French Polynesia and Wallis and Futuna, their exclusive economic zones combined provide France with the largest exclusive economic zone, EEZ, in the world. And so the importance of New Caledonia and French Polynesia, of these Pacific territories, is geostrategic, very much geostrategic. And it's a reflection of France's strategic narrative as this maritime nation. And it's become increasingly important as a consequence of France's interest in the Indo-Pacific.
In terms of New Zealand's diplomatic role, are we doing enough, do you think, or do we need to push for more?
Well, I think there are some options ahead. Obviously, the first priority is to evacuate New Zealanders in New Caledonia. And then there needs to be some discussion around what New Zealand can do going ahead, because obviously the situation cannot continue. Now, New Caledonia is a member of the Pacific Islands Forum. New Zealand obviously is a member of the Pacific Islands Forum. And one thing that New Zealand could do is call on forum members, as has been done in the past, to stand up the good officers mechanism under the Bikitawa Declaration, which is the regional crisis management mechanism, which could provide opportunities for a eminent persons group, for instance, to travel to New Caledonia to seek to try and resolve the situation. And given, of course, the fact that New Caledonia is still on the United Nations Decolonization Committee for Self-Determination as well.
Anna Poles, appreciate your insight into this. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Listening in, we now turn to a view in solidarity with kanaky, the Indigenous people of New Caledonia. We're joined by Indigenous rights expert Tina Ngata. Tina, morena.
Morena, Daniel.
As you heard Anna say, this current unrest is not just about recent constitutional frustrations.
No, absolutely. It goes back to the illegal French annexation of kanaky, right back from when they first entered that space. And so, of course, all of those outcomes, all of those really unfortunate, horrifying outcomes, actually, if you look closely at them, are ones that we as Māori are very familiar with. It's ones that people, Aboriginal Australians, are very familiar with. It's ones that First Nations and United States, so-called United States and Canada, are very familiar with, and they are the results of colonisation. And so, as she mentioned, they've been on the list for decolonization with the United Nations for some time now. There is no reason why France should still be, occupying that space. They need to demilitarize and go back to France.
Talk about the horrifying situation as you quote. Can you elaborate to us about what we're seeing, what they're witnessing there?
Well, the loss of life has predominantly been kanaky life that has been lost, but of course outside of that, there are all of the outcomes of hyper-incarceration, of poor access to health, of poor access to maternal health, poor outcomes for women and children. All of the issues that we experience here are replicated over there, but in many instances they're replicated in harsher ways. And so these things have been warned. An uprising has been predicted and warned to the French government for quite some time now, and they have continually ignored that. And so, of course, what we're seeing is completely predictable, but also completely preventable if they kept to their own word of the Nouméa Accord in 1998. And, one of the things that we did see happen between 1998 and 2008, the first referendum, was that there is an influx of French immigrants, and they're not just your run-of-the-mill French immigrants. The French government have financially incentivized military and police personnel to retire there. So it's far-right nationalistic French immigrants that they were bringing in there, and of course that has political ramifications and warps the vote towards being anti-independence as well. And so the Nouméa Accord is quite difficult to uphold at the same time as they're making very clear that they have strategic intentions through their Indo-Pacific strategy. And it would be understandable why there's a complete lack of trust there with the French government to live up to their commitments of the Nouméa Accord.
So, Tina, what, in your view, would de-escalate tensions?
Demilitarizing. I mean, they're continually increasing their military personnel. They already had, before this started, 8,000 military personnel. They've already been increasing military, moves and strategies in the region. So demilitarizing is the first thing that they can do to de-escalate tensions, and that's really where the focus needs to be. And then, living up to the commitments that they've made through the Nouméa Accord and respecting kanaky rights. Those are some of the things that we'll be calling for in our action on Wednesday at 12 o'clock in Balance Street, Wellington.
Appreciate your time. Tina Ngata, Indigenous rights expert. Thank you.
Tēnā koe.